Today, I thought of making a very short video presentation on corporate strategies and corporate governance. Though I will not be touching much on the activity called corporate governance, nonetheless, I would like to talk something about corporate strategies or even corporate governance or what a corporate office of and why does a corporate office exist? Do they have any role? If at all, what is that? Larger the corporation, larger the need for a very well governed, for the need for governance. You must have heard of the board of a company, of an organization. It is the topmost corporate governance engine, where the members of the board deliberate various things about the organization from time to time to see if any strategic shift is needed. See what's a nice word? Strategic shift is needed before it is too late. Now, in the absence of strategy, organizations, let me repeat this very, and please be attentive when I say this because it's something very profound. In the absence of a well formed strategy, the amount of resources used by an organization to execute a given task will be much more time or much more men, much more materials. The job of corporate governance is to integrate all these large scale factors effectively into a fine execution. This is a very important role of what we call as corporate governance, sometimes very less understood by corporations and organizations to the fullest extent. And from time to time, I must take strategic shifts if needed so that I continue executing what I'm supposed to be doing with a high degree of smoothness and agility. I don't know if I can give you some examples of these things from time to time. Yes, I'll give you a nice example. If you want to go to the American War of, it's not the American War of Independence, it is a civil war between the Northerners and the Southerners. The Northerners called the Yankees, which possibly was fought between 1860 and 1864. A man like Abraham Lincoln was leading the Northerners. It was a very bloody combat for which lasted for quite a long time. But it was very easy to get a sepoy, but very difficult to get a general. That is what was the statement that some of these leaders who were involved in this combat had to say. Much of what your large resource, the resources that you have, which are put into fine action, always needs what we call a general in the military sense. The general's job is not just to win the war with the least burdens. Now, in that war, they say they found a man called Ulysses Grant, the Northerners, who was a dropout from a military school, who fit the bill very well because he could organize his forces very well, conduct discussions, and chalk out plans. His full name, I think, is Ulysses Simpson Grant. He was also later become unconditional surrender Grant. He used to tell the enemy nothing short of unconditional surrender. Many generals were tried, but they did not fit the bill. This man fought in the right way, and the rest is history. I'm giving you the importance. In the military sense, general is a strategic leader. In a corporate sense, also we talk of such kind of, though the theater is different, what we do is different, but it has an analogy or a semblance. So this is what is a corporate office, the corporate governance and corporate management to some extent is all about. Now, I hope I made it clear before we go any further. What are we trying to talk? We're trying to talk two words: corporate strategies and governance. What is corporate governance? It's an organ of an business institution. What is its role to, by and large, to a large extent, coin and frame strategies which will make the organization work effectively with most effective use of resources. An analogy to this would be the general of an army who utilizes the resources very well to get an end result with least burden. There comes the role of corporate strategy and governance. The governor's role is to largely see, understand very closely before it's too late what's going wrong, so that corrective action can be initiated, however small, so that everything is on course. Especially when we have large multinationals working around, which work around the world, we must have a corporate head or a corporate group there in the head office, wherever it is, who try to understand precisely well what exactly is happening within the institution, so that correct decisions and strategies can be evolved in time, so that the work continues to flow very smoothly. In the absence of this strategy, you might achieve results, but you'll be doing it at a high degree of burden, which can be detrimental to the large scale or the overall health of an organization. Now, this is what I said: corporate governance always involves a board in which the CEO is a member. The primary job of the corporate governance is to see if the CEO is adhering to the right kinds of values and principles in the way he is doing work. Otherwise, he has to be called and talked to, so that he corrects himself in case he's making any gross violations. Very often, the board consists of many kinds of members, people with various kinds of expertise in various sectors, who definitely contribute to the strategic evolution of the organization from time to time. Now, I think I have, to some extent, I have made what is called as what corporate governance is all about. Corporate governance also takes into stock results of what the organization is doing, to study emergence of competitors and give related inputs that will make things better, or the organization moves in a more smoother and agile way. However, the CEO should take many decisions down the line, but his actions have to be audited from time to time if he's doing the things right. Sometimes getting results, there are two kinds of management scenarios. One is management through results or objectives, management by behavior. Both have to go hand in hand. If a man is getting results using wrong behavior, that also needs correction. Or if a man's behavior is right but results are finds wanting on the result front, that also needs to be corrected in some way. But definitely the word called strategy is a very important word, and corporate governance largely involves some various kinds of such strategies and issues. I think I made myself clear, because this is what corporate governance is all about. I want to stress that again once more, that any organization needs a corporate office. A family is also an organization, performing organization. The father there acts to some extent as a corporate governor. He sees if everyone down the line is doing the work right, what they are supposed to be doing, and take corrective actions where necessary. If that force is not there, there's managerial weakness within that unit, which can be seen from time to time. Now, I think I made to a large extent, I made myself clear. Now, suppose See, the problem, the good or bad of the world of business is that the environment keeps changing every now and then. This is what makes the world of business different from many other kinds of worlds. Change in environment. And there's the corporate governance becomes even more relevant because such changes have to be understood and corrective measures taken from time to time. Because the environment in which we operate will not be the same, will change in the present day world, will change much faster than what it did in the past. So people have to take stock of many things. And if in short, corporate governance is the think tank of an organization. It is a think tank. Through thinking and data mining, through discussions, through such logical work, through such associations, through the right spirit, through the right faith, through the right kind of acumen, through the right kind of experience, with the right kind of foresight and hindsight, the organ called corporate governance gives the right kind of direction to an enterprise. In the absence of it, an organization can go haywire. This is the kind of point that I'm trying to say. An organization become dysfunctional. Dysfunctional is an organization is performing but not performing the right way. That also cannot go on for too long. Now, this is what I was trying to say. Now, very quickly, now I think I have to a large extent told you what is corporate governance. Whenever you see a large corporate office of some company, think of corporate governance. People are seated there with many years of experience who sit and understand what's happening around the organization and they deliberate them from time to time. That is their job. Their job is not to do mundane day to day work. Their job is to govern. It's much more than management. And they better know, corporate office better know that they are into that work and attract the right kind of people to sit in these places so that they make the right kind of contribution. You must not understand what kind of contribution is really expected out of them. Their contribution is not day to day work. Their contribution is logical. Logical means they contribute ideas and thinking and other kinds of acumen inputs in the running of an organization, in the absence of which the organization will definitely get endangered. We have learned that so many times from time to time. Many organizations have endangered themselves only to be put back on track with the right kind of corporate governance team. Corporate governance team must understand the job is not day to day work. The job is to understand how work is being done. Now, assuming that we understand what is corporate governance to a large extent, many other factors can be added to it. In few lines, this is what it is. The government of India does corporate governance of a country. The word governance is very much there. That's what happens in the Parliament of India. Representatives sit and deliberate various issues. Indian democracy is some kind of an example to the rest of the world because it's a very highly working democracy. We must be proud that we created such a setup. I think Indian democracy is, I think, in its effectiveness, much more effective than similar such institutions around the world. The Parliament of India runs the country. So does the state governments, assemblies, and other kinds of bodies. They run the state. And if states are in need of something or doing something erroneous, the central government interferes through various kinds of discussions and parleys are done inside the parliament. Now you understand what's called as governance of a country. A country is a very different kind of a business institution. But coming to larger, smaller organizations or relatively smaller organizations, a similar kind of and dynamics is happen even in that context. Now you understand. Now I think you can understand to a large extent. Many of our assemblies of state government assemblies are rated to be functioning very well by various agencies. They are very very effective. They are very very effective. State governments and central governments also run businesses. The Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation is the business of the government. The transport minister discusses various issues, and then he has again a body of people who govern the corporation on a day-to-day basis. They are also in the corporate governance of Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation, which is a small part of the government setup. Now, if there's something amiss, The assembly discusses the whole matter. I need new Volvo buses. I need new something else. I need to in-axle. I need to double the. I need to increase the road from two-way to four-way lane, from two-lane to four-lane. All issues of which are discussed and deliberated very quickly. And I think we now in India we stand really at a very higher level or a higher pedestal in the way such activities are carried out by us. We have a very well good functioning government across the country. Now, what does corporate governance do? How do I achieve strategic shift, if at all something is needed? Now, some of the words that come here are to be understood very quickly. Strategic shifts are sometimes conducted using three techniques: restructuring, re engineering, and reorganization. Restructuring, re engineering, and reorganization. I hope I am making myself. This is what these are the three steps. When I restructure, I am trying to alter the command and control structure, sometimes the span of control. When I restructure, I am basically talking about the structure of the organization. It's very nice. It's not very nice to be understood. Now, if I were to add another platform or another kind of an bus station for Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation, to some extent, I think calling it restructuring may not be totally wrong. I create additional platforms and route some of the buses which are going by platform one platform to another platform so that the whole work becomes simpler and easier. I'm just giving you a simple example because some of the road transport corporations which are homegrown, run by the government, are run very well to a by and large to a large extent. At least Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation is very well run, fairly very well run corporation. It's a very responsible institution. Now, I'm giving some examples of that. I'm giving some examples of that. Now I'm restructuring. A restructuring can happen in many ways. I might create extra zones to get, as I said, more better kind of an administrative control or to ensure better form of governance. Now this is called as restructuring. Is there anything else to restructuring? The government of India also can restructure the government. Restructure the government would largely mean creating new ministries, creating new bodies under those ministries. All could come under the ambit of what we call as restructuring. Restructuring. I hope I make myself clear. I don't know what kind of examples. There will be many kinds of examples from time to time. In the police department, I might create additional posts. I am doing restructuring. Or that's under organ of government. Now I have made these statements to summarize restructuring. Then I call what is called as re-engineering. Re-engineering is a very ultimate technique that is used. When I find organizations are in, but really the entire competition is very fierce. I try to cut short the time needed for many of my processes. Re-engineering is a process-related activity. I'm trying to cut down the time taken for many of these processes in a very in a brisk way by studying what time these processes take. I might use technology at various places. Today, if you want to say, I don't know if re-engineering, previously it used to take, say, 1 hour to book a ticket. I'm standing in a queue. The time to book a ticket might be 1 hour. Now it is reduced to 5 or 10 minutes. Definitely an example. You can use the word for re-engineering. Re-engineering sometimes means that I'm changing processes to, no, I am altering processes using technology or otherwise to drastically cut short the time that that process takes. Re-engineering sometimes is a continuous activity in the organization, activity of corporate governance. Corporate governance. That's what I told you. That word called dysfunctional institution. Dysfunctional institution, the time taken for menopause process will increase with time, and I don't take any corrective action. I have to reduce it. To reduce it, I need to put in various kinds of technology and related inputs so that the time taken for all these activities are reduced to a large extent. It's a system improvement exercise, but a drastic kind of improvement taken sometimes because of competitive reasons. Competitors doing much better than me, then I try to re-engineer so that I can stay in competition better by improving the way I complete my logical some of many of my logical activities per se. Now the final thing is reorganization. Reorganization largely involves people. When the government takes 20 officers of the Indian Administrative Service and reshuffle them across various departments for efficiency's sake, I am definitely not talking restructuring. I am reorganizing. I am trying to use the talents of people much better through such kind of an exercise. I left the structure untouched. The structure is by and large the same. Very often, the activity taken by organizations is an reorganization active from time to time, so that the efficiency or the efficacy of the entire institution increases. I can see that at various levels. I can see that at the functional level. I can see it at the business level. I can even see at the top management level. Such kind of reorganization from time to time might be needed. I think Narendra Modi, sir, our honorable Prime Minister, has reorganized his what we call his cabinet by assigning new people to various roles to improve the efficiency of the system, the improvement of efficiency which we are seeing. From time to time, this has to be carried out, which he's done very well. He has acted at the time when he has to really act because he has got large scale experience having run a state before being the Prime Minister of this country. Well, I've touched upon these things. Now, these three things. Beyond this, is there something that corporate governance and corporate strategy should do from time to time to keep the organization in fine shape? See, the activity of business, management, governance, administration, supervision are all complex terms which someday we would be able to adequately define very well because the definition of these words also change from time to time. An organization can have weakness in governance, an organization can have weakness in administration, an organization can have weakness in supervision, an organization can have weakness in management. These are all different words. These are all different words. Sometimes someday we'll be able to understand these things. No organization is perfect. They've got weaknesses of various kinds, which have to be addressed by using some of these words. That is the essence of what I'm trying to talk. Now, what are some of the activities that are generally involved in this corporate strategies and corporate governance? Is what I'm trying to say. Corporate strategies and corporate governance are two different words. Corporate governance has nothing to do with corporate strategy to a large extent. If you ask me very clearly, corporate governance is only a think tank of the institution, but it gives adequate inputs or right kinds of inputs down the line for corporate strategies to plan. They are definitely two different things. But um, but these factors or these kinds of words and these kinds of issues have to be closely understood and monitored. Now, how do I achieve strategic shift? Is the next question. Strategic shift is a corporate strategy. Strategic shift means I am doing something in some way now. I'm trying to slightly change the way I work. Now, this is the idea of strategic shift. Now, I achieve them through words like diversification. Diversification means I'm diversifying into new lines of activity, which will give me revenue. Sometimes when I stand at Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation terminal in some places in Karnataka State, I see a parcel service which has taken shape in a very big way. I was once in touch with the Transport Secretary of the Government of Kerala, Mr. Jyotirlal, to whom I gave many recommendations for the Kerala State Road Transport Corporation, where I said that parcel services conducted by Kerala State Road Transport Corporation can increase. I think formally the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Shri Pinarayi Vijayan, has started very formally this parcel service. Now, this is kind of diversification, which is a related kind of diversification. Diversification can be two kinds. It can be related or non-related diversification. I'm giving a related diversification, where I'm carrying cargo along with passengers because of the large demand for cargo to be moved around around from one place to another place in the modern day world, and the load is being largely taken over by the state transport corporation. Now, I've told you what is diversification. Example of diversification. There are kinds of diversification. In large corporates, they have diversified. I would like to state one thing, especially many of these companies which are making earth moving equipment in the world today. Most of them have got a very nice, what we call expertise, background, and the wherewithal to get into the transport bus segment. I think Volvo has done. Volvo is one company which is both in earth moving equipment and in passenger bus segment. Volvo's buses are that ply between Mysore and Bangalore. Sometimes I come late night with those buses. They are so comfortable. Zero, the entire shocks, zero noise, zero, no, not much shocks from the roads. Now I see that's called unrelated diversification, or you though it's not directly connected with the earth moving organization, but they have the wherewithal and expertise to get to a large segment, which is passenger bus segment. It is unrelated diversification. Now I am diversifying because I am find my organization is facing competition in one sector, and I want to have certain other kinds of benefits from the other some related sector. The best example would be the parcel service provided by modern days parcel service started by the state government corporations in India. Now I've got new product development which needs innovation. I try to understand the new kind of a product that is needed, and I try to develop that product. Is also another aspect of strategic shift or activity of corporate strategies and corporate governance. What do we mean by the word new product development? What do we mean by the word new product development? I'm trying to develop new products. That's very simply said. But what does it mean? Very often, when I say new product development, I am altering an existing product to match some other needs. Is one you see if you see this sleeper coaches. There's something today called a very interesting bus called as non-AC sleeper, which is a big hit with the public. I was recently traveling by a non-AC sleeper of Ashok Leyland. I thought the journey was so good. I don't want AC, but the bus is very sturdy and rugged. And in one of the lower berths, you get good sleep. Now, that's definitely a kind of new product development. I've seen buses like semi-sleepers. Half of the bus is seating, and the other half on top is berths for sleeping. These are examples of new product development. Very often, I am altering an existing product. Very often, new product development means by developing totally different products that can to alter an existing product with the experience inputs from existing products to make new kinds of products. Creating such kind of new buses will increase the revenue of the state transport corporation or whoever is running it. I'm told it is a big hit with the public today. I think most of these buses are made by Ashok Leyland. It's a big hit with the public. Now I've given an example of new product development. I have got words like amalgamation and joint venture, also a part of corporate strategies. Amalgamation means, see, there is a difference between the word amalgamation and joint venture. When I do amalgamation, the identity of of both the amalgamators gets lost and a new identity is created. That is amalgamation. Very rarely done, but sometimes done in large multinational corporates around the world who are suddenly find themselves in difficult situations in various sectors. I think such amalgamations are sometimes coming in the electrical engineering industry around the world, where the difficulty to make a product I think is very high. So I try to amalgamate between I try to amalgamate corporations come join together, sometimes losing their identity to make a new kind of an entity. Right word is entity, which does the work in future. In corporate governance, the board will be shared by the people of both these companies, who ultimately end up forming a new company. Dogs are barking. A lot of dogs in my area. Sorry. Now, oh, what are these dogs? Now, something has to be done about these dogs. Now, fine. I've told you what a joint venture. Joint venture is different. Both the companies don't lose their identities, but they partake in some kind of economic cooperation. Is the meaning of joint venture. I find various kinds of joint ventures from time to time, which comes to the rescue of a certain beleaguered or less well-run institution. I don't know where to give you joint venture. Joint ventures are definitely equity participation sometimes. Need not be so. Joint venture can also be a manpower sharing between two organizations, the skills and abilities of two organizations, manpower sharing. I can give you, there are hundreds of examples of joint ventures around the world. From the streets of a city to the large corporates of the world, we see some other form of joint ventures. At least they get into some kind of companionship around the world, sharing their resources and abilities. Resources would also mean financial resources. Now, I might take over a company which is very poorly run, which is I can have a friendly takeover or hostile takeover. Sometimes, which is I can have a hostile takeover. In the takeover, the important aspect of takeover is that the organization which is being taken over totally loses its identity. No one understands, and the identity becomes that of the organization, the predator. Though it may not be the right word to use, I can have many kinds of takeovers like that. Some are hostile takeovers, and others are non-hostile, where someone sells the organization to a buyer and wants to exit that sector for some reason or the other. Now, I have by and large given you some of these words. Of course, I've got greenfield projects. Greenfield projects are I'm making totally new product. I'm flush with funds. I want to invest them somewhere. I am getting into very often an unrelated area, but I'm willing to spend and burn my fingers there because I am willing to take the necessary risks because I see some long-term returns in entering into that activity. I see many of the companies getting into pharma sector, though they do not have background in pharma. They try to make some medicine, which and they try to sell it around and see, okay, if they can, they just to get experience in that sector, because they know pharma sector is a very lively and exciting sector, and I can have many other kinds of pharma related products developed in the future, but I'm willing to get into the sector. This is called as greenfield projects. Sometimes some companies do that, and it has to be done too, so that the overall economic survival of the organization is better. Economic survival is much better and sure. I hope I have discussed these things very well. Very quickly, I try to tell you what's corporate governance. Think tank of an organization, which from time to time guides the organization into right form of performance. Then an activity that goes very closely with corporate governance is corporate strategies. It is very easy to get a soldier, it's very difficult to get a general. I make the right kind of strategy. In the absence of strategy, the burden that results in doing the same work is much higher. In the presence of very good strategies, the burden to get the work done will be much better, which will be minimal. So I've got what is called as I've told by and large what is called as corporate strategies. Then a word that comes with corporate strategies is the issue of strategic shift. I'm shifting gears from one, not gears, I'm shifting the kind of work that I do from one level to another. due to various environmental reasons. Also on the concept of overall corporate governance, so I discussed words like I said strategic shift is achieved through restructuring, reorganization, re-engineering, reorganization, and various other kinds of strategies result from thereupon, which I use from time to time to orient the organization the right way to get better economic results and also ensure healthy survival of institutions. Please understand that before I close, I just want to make one line: public sector or private sector, or any sector for that matter. If your corporate governance is bad, your corporate office, what it does is not what it should be doing. If the people sitting there are not the kind of people who should be sitting there, or who lack in vision, intelligence, and acumen and understanding of what they're doing, you are definitely endangering the long term health and survival of an institution, which can be felt somewhere down the line. So it's very, very important to understand who are this kind of leadership material and induct them into corporate governance so that they ensure stability, survival, and long lasting nature of corporations. Thank you very much. This is P.O. Subhash from Bangalore, India.